Sir.Isolated says, Morge, is the fact that you thought that the raid will fail and was hinted at throughout not proof of the tension in this arc? No, because the reason the raid failing was such a... The reason I believed the raid would fail was not because there was tension throughout the arc, so I was like, oh, they might lose, right? The reason I thought the raid would fail was largely because everything was going so absurdly well, and the tone was so positive, and all the characters were so absurdly confident from the start that they're going to win. They're literally planning their victory party as they roll up to Onigashima. Never heard that in another One Piece arc. Never seen that in any other fictional battle ever. That they're rolling up to the final battle and like already getting pumped about the victory celebration they're going to have afterwards. The number of times that characters say throughout this arc, it's obvious that we're going to win. I think it's pretty much obvious we're going to win. I think there's literally no way we can lose. I've never seen that in a One Piece arc. I've never seen that in any other work of it. It's absurd. It's absurd. So one of the biggest reasons I thought the raid would fail was largely because there was no attempt at dramatic tension for the most part, right? I think you can find maybe 3 chapters throughout all of Wano where it legitimately felt as though Oda was trying to write in some uncertainty as to the guarantee of the Straw Hats victory. I think about 3 chapters. I would say for about half of 1043, Oda slipped that in. I think there was one chapter after Luffy fell off the roof where Oda made it seem a little uncertain that the alliance was going to win or lose. Beyond that, I think there was never a point throughout the raid that Oda actually made characters worried that... so you got one chapter partway in the middle, and then you got about half a chapter at around 1043. I think beyond that, there was no point where Oda like actually wrote in some significant tension among the alliance, you know? Levi says, they just hype, bro. This is the Straw Hats in the highest spirits we've ever seen them because of how far they've come in the New World. Yeah, but, I mean, that's one of the reasons I prefer Whole Cake Island, which is that they've come a long way in the New World, but Whole Cake Island had heavy, heavy tension, especially at the midpoint of that story, obviously, where, you know, they fail to get back Sanji. They've got the enraged army coming down on them, revealing her betrayal and everything like that. They've hit very low spirits there. And then heavy, heavy tension during the final section of that. You can say the final section dragged, maybe the pacing was poor, etc., but they were fucking scared, right? There's a point literally when Luffy's gone into the mirror world, he's fighting for his life. Katakuri's pummeling him with blows. At the same time, he's trying to desperately get in touch with Nami as the crew's under attack. Everyone on the Straw Hats is freaking out. Nami is literally talking to Luffy and saying, I think this might be the end for us. I think we might be dead. Even right before that, in the wake of Pedro's death, they're in tears, they're sobbing as they're being pursued and everything like that. Like, there's just heavy segments of uncertainty and fear in the crew. And to me, that's always what's made One Piece really, really exciting, which is they can get to really, really high stakes, worrisome situations, but they will still always have really strong faith in each other and believe that they'll be able to succeed against the odds. This was the first storyline where it wasn't really like, you know, we're going to succeed against the odds. They're literally saying multiple times throughout it, like, yeah, we got this wrapped up. We got this in the bag. It feels like we literally can't lose. It feels obvious that we're going to win. It was kind of, I just never seen that in a One Piece arc ever before. And I think that that's just something that I personally really prefer in One Piece's writing style. When it's more so like, you know, they're pulling up to Enies Lobby and Zoro's telling on, like, everyone win even if you die, right? Like, or Zoro even, like, literally throughout Enies Lobby, they're talking about, like, we have to stand firm and, like, believe in Luffy, right? He's up against Lucci. None of us have a chance. Luffy's our only hope. We have to believe in Luffy. Even by the time the Lucci battle's over, Zoro's like, you had me worried there for a moment. Like, you can go back, look at that. You can look at, like, during Straw Hats versus Baroque Works, Luffy versus Crocodile. There are multiple points where they are worried and they don't know if they're going to win, but they're just holding out hope and believing in each other. And they're like, we're going to keep fighting because we believe we can win. We're going to keep putting our faith in Luffy because he's the only one who has a chance. And we're going to believe in that chance that he can win. It's just never been like this in Wano, where it's just like, yeah, Luffy is going to win. He's going to win. It's obvious he's going to win. Oh, of course he's going to win. Yeah, let's plan the party. We're rolling up to Onigashima. What do you guys want to do? Oh, we'll plan the party with what's happening afterwards. It's obvious we're going to win. Literally can't lose. You know, it's just a very different vibe. Tyler Dr. 16, thanks, appreciate it. That was one of the big reasons I did feel that the raid was going to fail. Because, like, in any other story, when characters are talking and acting like that, that's pure setup for them to lose. You never have characters basically announce their victory, plan their victory, talk about how obvious their victory is, etc., and then actually have them succeed. Usually that's set up for failure. That's one of the reasons. There's a lot more to that, but That's one of the many aspects of Wano that I personally didn't love. Chapter 989 is literally titled, I Can't Imagine Losing. Yeah. You don't need to go that far. Even Whole Cake Island had that feel. Whole Cake Island had that. There's many chapters in Whole Cake Island, especially like I think in like the 970s, 980s range, that are really, really, really heavy on dramatic tension. Like there are chapters there where you'll see characters reacting in a way that like they never get to in Wano. Or sorry, not 870s. 870s, my bad. So I'm just browsing right now. Late 870s. Tiago M says, isn't that when Luffy freaking died? So, I mean, at best in Wano, the entirety of Wano, Luffy died. We know he didn't die because if you die, then your devil fruit leaves your body. You don't awaken. So we know Luffy didn't die. Let's get that out of the way. This is the same thing as like Crocodile saying, yeah, Straw Hat Luffy died. Or like Baroque Works thinking like Luffy didn't factually die right there, right? So chapter 943, you have half a chapter of characters thinking that they might have lost. For the first time. For the first time, you have the Alliance, key members of the Alliance, the Straw Hats, Kid Law actually being like, wait a second. We might lose here. So for half a chapter. So if you want to say 10 pages of tension for a 150 chapter arc that's been built up since the start of the New World to take on the strongest characters, the strongest villains that have been established so far in the series, the Emperors, Kaido, and Big Mom, and you get half a chapter of real dramatic tension and real uncertainty on the part of the main characters, for me personally, that is not that satisfying. If you enjoyed it, that is perfectly fine. For me personally, I would like some more dramatic tension than that for an arc like this. Rosh Sin says, in my opinion, there's a lot of tension in Wano. Scabbard's in the rain moment and losing to Kaido, failing to save Yasue, Momo almost dying, Udon Poison. Udon Poison, see, the fact that you're listing something like Udon Poison, to me, it's just like, okay, let me say this. So in Wano, right, the only characters that are really scared or uncertain at points are pretty much the Scabbards. So from that perspective, I see what you're saying. The Scabbards in the rain and losing to Kaido, Momonosuke, I see that, right? You had characters that are scared. But to me, that's kind of the equivalent of like, to be honest, like Drum Kingdom type level shit, right? Obviously, almost any island that we go to, the characters of that island, the citizens of that island, they're going to be scared, right? Because the reason they couldn't beat this villain is because they can't beat this villain, right? Like, that's why the Straw Hats, etc. are needed. So from those characters' perspective, yeah, things will always be, you'll always find tension, right? You'll always find tension. Keep in mind the moment that you're talking about the Scabbards in the rain, that is, by the way, you could call it a low point for the Scabbards, right? But that is also them just being upset because people are like 10 minutes late to their meeting. It's not that big of a deal, right? Just putting that in context, right? It's like, oh no, I threw a party and not everyone's not here at 8 p.m. Fuck, it's ruined. It's all ruined. That aside, right? Let's be real. That's not what I mean by tension, right? We know that in pretty much every single arc, yeah, the citizens of the island, they're going to be fucking scared. They're going to be worried. They're going to be uncertain. The characters, right? The Straw Hats, Kid, Law, etc., the ones who are really going to be carrying out the action of the story, that's where I look to for significant tension. And the arcs that to me have the most tension are the arcs where the feelings of the Straw Hats tend to sync up with the feelings of the citizens of the island, right? So around the same time that everything is going to hell in Alabasta, Operation Utopia has taken off, people are going to war against the king because they think the king has betrayed him, etc. That is synced up with Luffy having lost to Crocodile and the entire Straw Hat crew being legitimately worried and scared that Luffy has lost to Crocodile. There's significant tension. They're on edge. They're arguing with each other. They're riding to Alabasta to basically have a Hail Mary, right? They don't know if they're going to be able to win, but they're riding to Alaberna, the capital, because they're like, this is our Hail Mary. This is our final chance, right? We have to. We've already failed once. This is our final chance, right? And I could go down the list of every major sort of arc, Dressrosa, Alabasta, Enies Lobby, Skypiea, etc. It's when the main characters, the Straw Hats, the characters that are going to be carrying out the fights, the action, the people who are ultimately going to be playing the role of the hero of the arc, when they are experiencing tension and uncertainty and having to put their faith in some sort of last chance type thing, or their faith in Luffy, even though they know the odds are stacked against them, when they're going through emotional difficulty, emotional low points, heaviness, right? That's what I call real tension, because I expect the random citizens of the arc, like, there's not going to be a single arc in any, like, to say that the Scabbards, well, they experience uncertainty or fear, or Momonosuke did, and he's like a fucking 8-year-old kid. That's like, come on, that's the bare minimum. If we didn't have like anybody ever at any point scared at all throughout the arc, then it's like, we're not even talking about like lack of dramatic tension anymore. We're talking about like, it's not even a story at that point. It's literally just like, it's just a series of events or some shit, right? So I don't like, to me, what you're referencing here, Scabbard's in the rain because people showed up a little bit late to the party. Scabbard's losing to Kaido. Momonosuke being scared because he's like 8 years old, right? That's not really what I'm like. That's kind of just like the bare minimum floor, right? You look at other arcs like a Thriller Bark, like even a Thriller Bark, which is for the most part a comedy arc. The Strides go through some significant fear throughout that arc. You even have them saying like, this is the most worried I've been at certain points throughout the arc. I think that's like a straight up Sanji quote in Thriller Bark, right? Because they actually get like, shit starts going south over and over and over the further Thriller Bark progresses, even before Kuma shows up. This is before Kuma shows up. Even just dealing with ores and shit, they think that they're basically fucked at multiple points, especially with Moria showing up, the round 2 against them, the sun starting to come out, etc. Right? So there's a lot that even from Thriller Bark, like, the Strats are significantly more concerned about their odds of succeeding in Thriller Bark, which was mainly a comedy arc, than they were at any point in Wano. Randy Troy likes Alabasta. Alabasta is so good. Alabasta is weirdly underrated by the community because I think it happened a while ago. But to me, Alabasta is like I've always said this. To me, Alabasta is classic One Piece in that it's like before the world really got big, right? Before we got the larger scope of the One Piece story, right? Like, I'd say everything at the Enies Lobby on is a more complicated story. Alabasta was just like the OG One Piece arc. It was like not as simple as Arlong Park, right? But not quite as crazy and complex as like a Dressrosa or Wano or whatever, right? Marineford, things like that. Alabasta was just like the classic One Piece storyline. They're out to save a large kingdom. They've got a very strong, formidable opponent with a powerful organization underneath him, right? You've got an excellent cast of island-specific citizens that you can build the story around, and you can tie the Straw Hat story to their stories through the bond of Straw Hats and Vivi. The themes of friendship are the most prevalent in that arc out of any other arc in One Piece, right? And everybody has fights. Everybody has their own character moments and character bits of character development. Experience significant highs and lows. It's just got a sweeping scope that was not present in any arc in East Blue. Alabasta is just, to me, that's just like the classic One Piece arc. And it's not too cluttered. It's well-paced from start to finish. You have any outside characters that are introduced are interesting, like Ace and Smoker, and they don't overstay their welcome. I think Alabasta is just a very, like, the cleanest One Piece arc. Randy's got Alabasta at number 1, it sounds like. I've got it at 3, personally. For me, I've got Enies Lobby still at 1. I've got Marineford at 2. I've got Alabasta at 3. But I have plenty of respect for the take that Alabasta is number 1. Rash Sin says Usopp had a gag in the middle of the Alabasta War. I don't think you get, to me, you can have gags. You can have gags in any like a single gag alone does not mean that tension is over. You can have single gag, that's perfectly fine. You can have gags. But that's very, it's about ratio, right? It's about ratio. How much of it is, like, are you slipping in a gag for some comedic relief? Or are you only occasionally actually legitimately writing in tension? Because the Usopp fight, like particularly the Usopp fight, right? That was one of the most tension-filled Usopp. That's probably the most tension-filled Usopp battle throughout the entire series, the Alabasta fight. More than Perona, more than Chu, more than certainly more than anything in the New World. That was the most tension-filled Usopp fight by far, right? Because he's grappling with the fear that Luffy has died, and he's refusing to believe it, right? But in reality, he does, and that's the power of it, right? That's the power of Alabasta that Wano obviously is not even close to, right? Which is that in Alabasta, Usopp is legitimately grappling with the fear that Luffy died. And even though he has to bring it upon himself to overcome not only his own fear, right? But he has to take it a step further and bring out his faith in Luffy to take a stand and be like, no, he's not dead. Even though we know for... Sirens in my neighborhood. Even though we know for a fact that's established later on when he and Chopper are asking Sanji, like, do you think Luffy really died? Could he really have died? Usopp is, throughout that fight against the Mr. 4 duo, he is legitimately worried that Luffy has died, right? That's his fear throughout that battle. And that's a fear that started from, even just when they left Luffy in the desert with Crocodile, right? Chapter like 80 something, right? You see that fear developing among the whole crew at that point in time, right? But that's what makes that scene so powerful, that even though Usopp definitely does not know for a fact that Luffy's dead, and he definitely was struggling with that fear. We saw it in the desert as the Straw crew is arguing with themselves and everything like that. We know it's confirmed for a fact afterwards when Usopp is worriedly asking Sanji, like, do you think Luffy could really have died and everything like that? But in that moment, despite everything that Usopp's going up against with the Mr. 4 duo, being completely unmatched, being beaten black and blue, breaking his bones and stuff like that, he's still stepping forward and being like, no, I won't let you say that Luffy's dead. Because inside, Usopp's not going to let himself believe that. So that's just a brilliant moment. Brilliant moment. And Alabasta is filled with stuff like that.